Please be seated. May these words be spoken and heard in the power of love. There's a longer and thought-out version of a sermon that you could get to through the parish website. I just want to give you the heart of the sermon by sharing an episode, an anecdote about something which happened in the Lady Chapel 3 or 4 Sundays ago. Basically, the words of the letter of James that we just heard read came to life in front of us, not with any reflected glory for me, let me add, but you'll understand that as we go on. And today, as we reflect on rich and poor and how that connects with our engaging with all of creation as a gift from God, I want us to reflect just on that line from the first reading in Proverbs. Rich and poor have this in common: the Lord made them both. Okay? This is what we have in common. We're all in this thing called life together. So, about 3 Sundays ago, it might have been 4 Sundays, I wasn't counting at the time, but just as I was about to start the service at 7 o'clock in the Lady Chapel, so I'd been hovering around here in the open space near the organ, waiting to hear the clock chime 7. And as I turned to go in, I noticed a person had just stepped inside the church. He was wearing a hoodie, and the church was basically in darkness because we don't turn these lights on when we're just over here in the corner. So I thought, oh, well, maybe he's just coming to have a look around, and his body language suggested perhaps he wasn't used to being in church, and I thought he's just wandered past. He's seen the door open, he's come in for a bit of a sticky beak. So I went down, started the service. Partway through the readings, this gentleman had actually come across, and now he was standing just over there, sort of near the 2 little tables, between the tables and the organ. Let's not confuse the organ for an altar. That would be too Ipswich. So I'm down there at the lectern, reading, saying the prayers, maybe started on the sermon by then, and he's standing at the back and looking a little bit uncertain as to what to do. And I'm thinking, so do I stop and say, look, please come in, grab a seat, have a bulletin? Or is he just going to look at us for a bit and think weirdos and walk off? Okay. Meanwhile, I'm thinking all that, but I'm saying the words, reading the gospel, starting on the sermon, whatever. My brain is going ding, 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 what's happening here? And to my shame, what I was most conscious of was that the collection bowl was on that table at the back of the church, back of the chapel. And I knew some of the folk coming to the service had already put their collection, their offering in there. So I'm being very nice and thinking, hope that guy doesn't nick the money. See what a nice man I am? Yeah. So eventually, one of the gents that was sitting in the second back row or thereabouts spoke to the guy, invited him to come and sit next to him, and shared his service book with him, and they were going through the service. And then before I'd finished my sermon, I think it was, the guy got up and left, which is sort of wasn't a huge surprise. I wasn't entirely expecting him to be there for the whole time, but would have been perfectly happy had he been. So we go on with the service, and then the service finishes and he's back. As we're standing chatting here in the little empty space, this guy comes back and he introduces himself, and different people from the congregation are having a chat with him. Now, he'd come back partly because he'd left his shoes behind. So he was barefoot at that stage, heading off into Ipswich on what was still a cold morning. Remember when we had cold mornings a few weeks ago? So he'd come back. He had sore feet, so he slipped off his shoes while he was sitting in church, and he came back to get them. So it meant we had a chat, which was good. And then one of the younger women from that little congregation, who herself probably only comes to church about once a month, she said, and I won't repeat his name because this is being recorded, live stream, but she said to him, why don't you come and have breakfast with me? And he said, oh, no, and he was obviously a bit short on cash, and she said, I'll pay. Come and have breakfast with me. Okay? And off they went. Had breakfast together. So the letter of James kind of happened right over here in the side chapel that Sunday morning. And I'm so grateful for the generosity of that little tiny worshipping community. There's normally only 4 or 5 people. And I'm particularly in awe of the generosity of that woman who, in her 40s or something, who just befriended that gentleman and took him out for breakfast. Okay. Probably not in a normal breakfast date. Okay, but off they went to have breakfast together. So, the rich and the poor have this in common. The priest and the rough sleeper have this in common. The Lord made them both. Amen.